Hello everyone, welcome back to Mama in the Kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make French macarons. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the ingredients. Over here I have 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. And then over here I have my egg whites. I have the egg whites of 2 large eggs. So I went ahead and aged my egg whites, which means that I put them in a bowl 2 days ago. And I covered it with saran wrap and put some holes in there and put it in the fridge. And what that does is it helps with getting the perfect stiff peak when making the meringue. So I placed it in the fridge for 2 days, and then I took it out of the fridge about 30 minutes ago so it can come to room temperature before using it. And then over here I have cream of tartar. I'm going to be using about 1/8 of a teaspoon of that. Almond flour, superfine almond flour. I'm going to be using 3/4 of a cup of almond flour, 1 cup of powdered sugar, and some gel food coloring. I'm going to be using purple, but I prefer gel food coloring so that the consistency doesn't change. And then for the buttercream, I'm going to be using 2 sticks of unsalted butter, 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, 3 cups of powdered sugar, a few drops of the cake batter flavor, and I'm also going to be using vanilla extract. So I'm going to add a few drops of vanilla extract as well. And now we're going to go ahead and get started. First I'm going to be doing is in a food processor, I'm going to go ahead and pulse the almond flour and the powdered sugar, and then I'm going to go ahead and sift them into a bowl. And you don't want to skip this part. This part is important. It ensures that the macarons are smooth and not lumpy. After sifting, I'm going to go ahead and just discard whatever's left in the sifter. You don't want to add this to your bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and just set this aside, and I'm going to get started on my meringue. So in a bowl I have my 2 egg whites. Remember, I did age these for 2 days in the fridge. So I put them in a bowl with saran wrap and some holes, and I put them in the fridge for 2 days. And I took them out of the fridge 30 minutes ago so they can come to room temperature before I whisk them. So now I'm going to go ahead and use a whisk attachment using my hand mixer. And you can use a stand mixer if you'd like. And I'm going to go ahead and mix it on a medium speed or low to medium speed until it gets frothy. And then once it gets frothy, I'll be adding the cream of tartar. Once it gets foamy like this, I'm going to go ahead and add my 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar and continue to mix. And once the egg whites are completely foamy like this, where you cannot see through them anymore, I'm going to start adding the sugar very slowly. And I'm going to continue to mix. And now I'm going to increase my speed to a medium-high speed. And once it gets to this consistency, you want to go ahead and add the gel food coloring. You want to make sure you use gel so the consistency of the egg whites don't change, because the littlest tweak to these egg whites could either make or break your macarons. So what I've learned from trial is that you want to make sure that your bowl that you're going to be mixing your egg whites in is completely dry. I even wipe it down with some vinegar to make sure there's no oils, because that could affect your meringue. And then aging the egg whites also helps, and also adding the cream of tartar. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that in, and you can see it's still at a soft peak. You want to make sure that it's stiff. So you don't want to undermix it. If you undermix it, they're going to come out flat and it's not going to work. So you want to make sure you mix it enough where the meringue is stiff and it stands up and it doesn't tilt down at all. And I'll show you what it should look like. So this is what you want your meringue to look. It'll actually start to bunch up in your whisk like this, and it's going to stand straight up. And if you flip over your bowl, it shouldn't move at all. So now it's time to add the meringue to the almond flour and powdered sugar mixture. So I'm going to be adding about a quarter at a time. I'm not going to add it all at once, and I'm going to slowly fold it in. So at first I'm just folding it in just to incorporate it, and then we'll be folding it in to get the right consistency. So you're pretty much going to go around and then down the middle, around and down the middle. You don't want to mix it like you would mix anything else. You're going to go around the bowl and then down the middle until it's well incorporated. And then we're going to be folding it just to get to the right consistency. Okay, so at this point, I have about 3/4 of my meringue in here. I'm not going to be adding all of my meringue. Now, it's best to weigh out your ingredients when making macarons. I didn't today, but that way you can ensure that you're not going to have too much meringue, because if I added all of this meringue, this would be way too runny. So I just kind of eyed it out. But I will be leaving the exact measurements of how much every ingredient needs to weigh down in the description box below. That way you don't have to guess how much meringue you're going to put in your batter. Usually I would weigh it out and it works better that way, but today my scale wasn't working, so I couldn't do that. So now I'm pretty much going to go ahead and just scrape this batter against the bowl like this. I'm going to do this 2 to 3 times, and then I'm going to be folding it a few times, then checking the consistency. So you want to continually check your consistency, because you can always fix it if it's undermixed, but if it's overmixed, you have to start over. So you always want to check your consistency every few folds, because just a couple of extra folds can make it too runny. So what you're looking for is a consistent flow, but a thick, slow flow. So if it's running too fast, then it's probably overmixed. So you want to keep checking the consistency, because if you overmix it, you're going to have to start over. And trust me, I've had to do that many times. I've tried this making macarons multiple times. I've had failures, and it's still not perfect, but it works now. It actually has feet, and it tastes amazing, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside. So it's finally worked out for me, but I did have some failed episodes of macarons. So this is the consistency that you want it to be at. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in my piping bag. You can use a Ziploc bag or whatever you have is fine. So I put it in this cup just so it's easier to put the batter in it. Okay, so now I have my pan with some parchment paper. So I actually put some of the batter on the corners just so the paper doesn't move and it stays in place. So now I'm going to go ahead and start piping my macarons onto the parchment paper. So what I do is I usually just count to 4 and then I let go. That way you can ensure that they're going to be the same size. Mine still didn't all come out the same size, but it's fine as long as you can match it up with another one that's the same size. And then you're going to go ahead and actually slam the tray on your counter a few times, and then do that on both sides. So you're going to slam it a few times, and then what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be leaving these on the counter for 45 minutes for me, but it could take from 30 minutes to 1 hour depending on the weather conditions of where you're at. I live in Florida, so it takes a little longer. Some people, it might take them just 30 minutes, but what we're looking for when they're dry is to be able to touch them without the batter getting on your hand. And what I'm doing here is I'm just popping the bubbles that didn't pop when slamming the tray. You don't have to do that, but it just makes them look prettier. And then now I'm gonna let them dry for 45 minutes. It could take from 30 minutes to an hour. I'll show you what they should look like once the shell is formed. And while I wait on my macarons, I'm gonna go ahead and make my buttercream. So over here I have 2 sticks of unsalted butter that are softened. So I've had them out of the fridge for maybe like an hour. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and just mix those until they get fluffy. Once they get fluffy, I'm gonna slowly add the 3 cups of sugar, the powdered sugar, and then I'm going to be adding 2 tablespoons of heavy cream and the vanilla extract and the cake batter flavor. Now my buttercream is ready, and now I'm going to go ahead and just put this in a Ziploc bag so I could pep it onto my macarons once they're ready. All right, so it's been 45 minutes and now my macarons are dry to the touch. So you should be able to slide your finger over there without it sticking to your finger. If it does stick to your finger, they're not ready yet. You still have to wait on them. So I have my oven preheated at 325 and I'm gonna bake them for 13 minutes. It could take 12 to 15 minutes depending on your oven. Right, so I baked my macarons for 13 minutes on 325, and this is what they look like. Now, it could take 12 to 15 minutes. You want to keep checking on them depending on your oven. And now I'm going to go ahead and just start taking them off the parchment paper and matching them up together. You want to match them up to the same size, and then I'll be putting the buttercream in the middle. All right, so the last thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding my buttercream in the center. So you're going to add it a little bit away from the edges, and then you're going to sandwich them together. And this is what it looks like. And it's actually best to put them in a container and leave them in the fridge for 1 to 2 days before eating. They taste so much better the next day. Trust me. I know you're going to be tempted to taste it, and it still tastes good the first day, but it tastes so much better the next day. The buttercream will be the perfect consistency and it'll get that flavor into the macaron, and it's just so good the next day. So this is the final look of the French macarons. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you make these and they work out for you, please let me know. I've made these multiple times before they worked out, so it's okay. It takes practice. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe.